Welcome back, panelists here. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett, Amna Nawaz, co-anchor of PBS NewsHour, Brendan Buck, former advisor to Speakers Ryan and Boehner on the Republican side of the aisle, Symone Sanders-Townsend, host of Symone on MSNBC. Laura, this is your first time at the table, and my word, we have a lot to
There's
discuss.
There's a lot of legal news this week.
Thankfully. All right, I want to start with these dueling briefs here. Look, we can get into the politics of how we got to this moment, but let's go with mifepristone. Is it going to be on the market this year or not?
So as of this moment, it is. Nothing has changed, but we could be entering into a period of significant legal uncertainty if that order in Texas is actually upheld within the next week. If another judge doesn't block it, another appellate judge doesn't block it, then it is if the drug was never approved in the first place, because he has put the effective date of it on hold, which is not exactly what the plaintiffs in this case had actually asked for, but that's what he's done. And yet at the same time, you have another federal judge with the exact same level of authority and jurisdiction who has said the exact opposite. And so that's why I think folks are likely predicting it could be headed to the Supreme Court's doorstep.
Will it go through the appeals, the two circuits first, or does this get fast-tracked?
Well, it depends on what the Justice Department does. I think you're going to see that this week. It's a strategic call. They have already filed a notice of appeal in the Fifth Circuit, but we know the Fifth Circuit tends to lean conservative.
Right.
At the same time, now that they have filed that notice, they could also decide to go straight to the Supreme Court and not wait for the Fifth Circuit to act, just as a discretionary judgment call.
Could the Supreme Court just step in and say, no, we'll take this now, we see this dispute, or is it...
They got to wait for the Justice Department to tee it up.
And what's this is a conservative majority. Is it in line with the federal judge from Amarillo, Texas?
Well, it's interesting because the whole rationale for when they overturned Roe was to say, let's leave this to the states.
Yeah.
Let's let the states decide what to do. This judge in Amarillo, Judge Kaczmarek, has effectively set a national policy for the entire country and has decided the FDA simply didn't have the authority to do this for the entire country.
So we throw Wisconsin in with this, Amna, and now we have a full-fledged... It is hard for me to imagine, and I say this with some trepidation, but it certainly looks like 2024 is going to be another abortion rights election.
I think that's right. I mean, I think it's anything we saw from Wisconsin from the last year of special elections and certainly from the November midterms, abortion remains a politically potent issue. And we saw that all the way back to Kansas last August, Michigan and Minnesota earning trifectas in the midterms as well, and then last week, as you mentioned, in Wisconsin. But I think that the context here that Laura is hitting on is particularly important because the unprecedented nature of what we're seeing is what's mobilizing people to turn up on this issue, right? You've never had a court, correct me if I'm wrong here, legal expert, weigh in and overturn an FDA approval in this way. And now we're seeing that uncertainty Laura was mentioning as well. That's what's guiding people to come up because they don't know what their future is. Where you live increasingly determines how you live and your rights as a woman.
Brendan, the Wall Street Journal editorial board, who would like to see Republicans get some power again politically, warned them, Republicans had better get their abortion position straight and more in line with where the voters are, or they will face another disappointment in 2024. They say total banner is a loser in swing state. I think total ban is a loser in every state. I don't think this is just about the swing states anymore. Kansas, Michigan, Wisconsin, there's a pattern here.
Yeah, I don't know how many more warning signs we need that this is a political problem for us, and yet we keep going deeper and deeper in this direction.
Why do you think it is? I have a theory that it's the infrastructure the party has relied upon, the pro-life community,
absolutely,
for so long for money and organizing that they don't know how to quit it.
Yeah, we've made a deal with this part of the party for a very long time and made a lot of promises. And I think a lot of people, we look at it in a political sense, but there are a lot of people who firmly believe that this is the right moral position to have. And so you can't just walk away from that. But if you take a bigger picture look at it, the politics of it are devastating for us. And we can't win without them. But obviously winning with them is coming at significant cost.
Symone, it feels like a long way away. Remember when Joe Biden's abortion position was getting questioned by Democratic activists in the primary?
I remember vividly. I think I was there.
I guess we're a long way away from that.
Very long way away, Chuck. Look, I think what Brendan said should be underscored here because for a very long time, this is what the Republican Party apparatus organized around. They did not organize around jailing women, jailing women for getting an abortion, fining and potentially jailing doctors. They did not organize around forcing girls to have babies by their rapists, but that is exactly what is happening because of the positions they have advocated for. So when the Wall Street Journal says they got to get their position straight with the voters, I'm confused and don't understand because I think they've been quite clear on what the position is.
Well, I think that's the problem. There isn't a...
Yeah, we said that we were going to send this back to the states because we were going to have some reasonable limitations on abortion. And now state by state, it doesn't look very reasonable. And we are at the mercy of a bunch of state legislatures. And that's not a very good way to run a party.
Speaking of being at the mercy of the look of state legislatures, this situation in Tennessee, Symone, it is loud echoes from our recent past in the South and in the 60s. But this also feels like the inevitable moment that you have when you have these gerrymandered supermajorities that have become calcified.
Absolutely.
Because this is what it felt like, a whole bunch of people who just don't deal with dissent.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I was down in Nashville. I spoke with the Tennessee 3 and state legislators there. What is happening in Tennessee and, frankly, across the South is, in fact, Jim Crow. What Jim Crow was blocking black people from the ability to have participation in their government, disenfranchising lawmakers. And it's not just Tennessee. Look at what's happening in Mississippi. Coming in to Jackson and the state legislature stepping in. Look at Governor Abbott in Texas. Look at what's happening in Florida. This is an all-out assault.
Governor Abbott, the story you're glossing, I know we wanted to be quick, and I appreciate you doing that with time, but looks like he's okay if there's a pardon of a Travis County, a blue county prosecution, a murder conviction of a Black Lives Matter protester.
He put out a statement and said, I welcome the pardon on my desk so I can sign it. And so it is an assault, and I think these young people, young state legislators who stood up, they have galvanized the movement.
Brendan, not a single national Republican leader has supported what Tennessee has done. It is no doubt in my mind the silence is at least sending a message of, oh my God, what that looks terrible. But I don't think it's helping the party's image.
No, I mean, what do they do? I mean, this happened in Congress in 2016. We had a sit-in where Democrats took over the House floor, and we had members who wanted us to arrest them, wanted us to arrest John Lewis on the House floor. But you realize that's a bad look. But here's another situation where you have a state legislature who is defining the party. No one is in charge. And there's no consequences for any of these legislatures. As you said, their districts are such that they're not going to be voted out because
half
they did
of them
this.
didn't face any opponent,
Yeah.
Brendan. Half of them didn't face any opponent at all. It's stunning.
Yeah, well, this is, again, a situation where there's no infrastructure, there's nobody calling the shots. We are being defined as extreme, and it's why Republicans are on the run in just about everywhere across the country.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.